The Siege of Mandalore continued this week with Part 2, The Phantom Apprentice. I remember years ago when it was revealed that Maul would be returning from the dead. I remember how much I disliked that idea. I was an idiot. Even before these final episodes, I found Maul to be one of the most compelling characters in the Clone Wars, but wow, this might be the best Maul story we've ever had. We learn over the course of the episode that everything he's done on Mandalore was an attempt to gain Anakin's attention, to lure him into a trap to be killed, to remove the most important piece on Palpatine's board. Not exactly to give the Jedi or the Republic a fighting chance, he seems pretty resigned to the fact that they're both about to be wiped out, but he's at least trying to make Darth Sidious a little easier to fight. He's still not fighting for the light side, of course, but this is the closest he's ever come to doing the right thing and to breaking his own cycle. But Obi-Wan and Anakin didn't come, Ahsoka did, so Maul captures Jesse and interrogates him with that same kind of Kylo Ren memory invasion. He learns all he can about Ahsoka, her trial, her reasons for leaving the Jedi Order, and it actually does make a lot of sense that he would seek her out as a partner, and then she says yes for a moment. And I'll be honest, I was rooting for that team-up that I knew wasn't going to happen, but what a pair they would make. Two rejected apprentices from the opposite sides of a conflict that's lasted for thousands of years. Former Jedi and former Sith fighting side by side. That whole enemies to allies thing is part of the reason the throne room fight in The Last Jedi is so exciting, and this episode did give me some strong The Last Jedi vibes at times. But of course, Ahsoka ultimately rejects his offer because she refuses to believe that Anakin could become a Sith himself, and that fight scene was fantastic. Over a year ago at Star Wars Celebration, we were told that Ray Park came in to do motion capture to be used as a guide for Maul's fighting style, and it really showed. I felt like I was watching Duel of the Fates all over again. The clones liberate Mandalore and Ahsoka bests Maul, who begs for death rather than capture. I mean, I'm sure the last place he wants to be is delivered to his former master on a silver platter. And that's the basic conflict and resolution to the episode. I wanted to cover that first because everything with Maul was so good, but on top of this mostly self-contained story about Ahsoka, we're still getting these kind of sync points with Revenge of the Sith. I was surprised to see Obi-Wan not only appear, but to also get his take on Dooku's death. He obviously seems unsettled by it, like he knows there might be more going on, and this made me feel completely oblivious, but it never really occurred to me that Palpatine couldn't let Dooku be captured by the Republic. I still think his death in Revenge of the Sith is primarily about Anakin's continuing fall to the dark side, but duh, the death of Dooku means one less person who knows the true identity of Darth Sidious. It makes Maul's capture all the more important. The stakes for this episode felt so high despite us knowing how it's going to end up, but the storytelling is so good because it's keeping me invested in the how. Yeah, I know Maul escapes, and Ahsoka, Rex, and Bo-Katan are all going to come out of this alive, but I still know how it happens is going to be rough to watch. For example, I was pretty surprised Maul left Jesse alive, but probably not for long. To me, that's just a guarantee for us having to watch him activate Order 66 and turn on Ahsoka and then be killed for it. That's going to be terrible for Ahsoka and Rex, and speaking of Rex, I'm of the opinion that he will also activate and have to be snapped out of it somehow. That's about the worst thing that can happen, and I know in Rebels he said he didn't betray his Jedi, but A, I think there are ways around that line, and B, I don't really care about the potential discrepancy. It feels right for the story, in that terrible pull your heart out kind of way. And speaking of discrepancies, there were a couple more in this episode. Things don't line up perfectly between the Ahsoka novel, Son of Dathomir, Dark Disciple, and Star Wars Rebels. Like we saw Marg Krim of the Pikes is still alive, although he was supposed to die in Dark Disciple, and the Shadow Collective was supposed to disband in Son of Dathomir, and yet they're all still meeting, with the inclusion of a young Dryden Voss, which was an exciting touch I wasn't expecting. But I've been getting questions every week about these tiny details that don't line up, and it feels kind of hypocritical for me to say this because I love the little details and connections, and I talk about them a lot. When everything lines up perfectly, it does feel great. But when little details like that change things we thought we knew, I'd urge you to just try to let that go. The broad strokes of all those stories are still the same. You can just make those little mental adjustments in your mind and say, okay, Ahsoka's lightsabers are blue and not green now, and just enjoy the ride, because so far it's been a great one. We've only got 2 episodes left and less than 2 weeks until they're all released. Just a reminder that the finale will air on May 4th, only 3 days after next Friday's episode, so mentally prepare yourself for Order 66. Again, didn't we just do this in Fallen Order 2? Star Wars just wants to hurt us. But The Phantom Apprentice blew me away. It's already one of my favorite episodes of the series. Let me know what you thought of it in the comments. If you haven't already, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, and consider checking out our Patreon page, where we will have an audio commentary for this episode up soon. As always, thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.